Hello, my name is Excalibur, and welcome to my draft analysis video for the 5th season of the SBC. In this video, I'll be running down the mons that I drafted and explaining why. And the first mon that I drafted is Weavile. So, I've had Weavile every season since I started Season 2, and kind of figured that people would expect me to bring it while drafted, so I did. And I made sure I picked it up round 1 because I was afraid of snipes to kind of mess up my team and my draft plan. So that's mainly why Weavile was my round 1 pick. And its moveset is not that wide, but I know how to use it. It gets knockoff, ice skull crash, power punch, fake out, ice shard. A lot of moves that I can use if, in different scenarios and different teams. Its stats look solid. Base 125 allows me to outspeed a lot in the draft format. So I'm very happy about that. And its base 120 attack is pretty solid as well. And that's basically it with Weavile. Then the next mon that I drafted was to kind of stop the weakness of Skarmory in the original offensive core draft plan that I had. And that mon is Raikou. Now Raikou can use a variety of different moves, unlike Weavile, who can only basically use Focus Sash and Life Orb effectively. Raikou can use items such as Assault Vest if I want to, Choice Specs, Choice Scarf, Life Orb, Lum, and do so much. And I love its versatility in its item usage. And then its moves, well, they're as versatile, I guess. It gets Thunderbolt and Volt Switch, so I can get basically Volt Switch gives it momentum, which is really helpful, and get Shadow Ball and Signal Beam for coverage and any power that I want to use, which is great. Also gets Extreme Speed, which is great because it's priority. And then Calm Mind, which allows me to set up an Aura Sphere for a little bit more coverage. And that's basically all I would probably use on Raikou. And its stats are, well, since it's a legendary, they're pretty well rounded. Base 90 HP allows me, coupled with base 75 defense, which is solid. It's not that good. It's definitely not the greatest, but it's decent. And then the special defense is also solid, and the base 90 HP makes it a little bit better. And I can use that coupled with maybe an Assault Vest or a specially defensive Raikou to bulk out a bunch of hits. And now my next pick ended up being Shaman, because I was trying to avoid snipes, because I really want Shaman, because it can be both offensive and defensive, which I liked a lot. It has the ability Natural Cure, so it's a good status absorber. And then it gets air, and then this move pool is great because it gets Air Slash and Dazzling Gleam, Earth Power, Giga Drain, Energy Ball, Seed Flare for offensive moves as well as Psychic on the special side. And then physical side, it gets Seed Bomb, Zen Headbutt, and that's actually it. And setup, it gets basically Swords Dance, and for utility, it gets Tailwind, and of course Toxic, and Leech Seed, a lot of other moves that can help up team as well as Aromatherapy. And since Shaman is a pixie, its stats are 100 across the board, which is great because it allows me to bulk out a lot of hits naturally, as well as dish out hits without being invested, and that's amazing. That's why I really like Shaman on this team. Now the next mod that I drafted is Slowbro. Now Slowbro was not my original pick. My original pick was actually Volcanion, but unfortunately Weavile was moved up to S tier without my knowledge. Yeah, so I ended up having 3 S tiers in Weavile, Raikou, and Volcanion, so I had to drop one of them, and I decided to drop Volcanion and decided to pick up a Volcawater in A rank because I didn't have one. And Slowbro happened to be the only one left, but also I felt that it fit the team well, so I picked it up. And it gets basically the only items it's gonna probably use Rocky Helmet and Leftovers, and then maybe, I don't know, Sulfus at some point. And then its abilities, I haven't really talked about the abilities because the other of 3 mods don't have another move, another ability that I can use, or it's pretty much useless. So Slowbro has Oblivious and Regenerator, which are both really good defensive abilities, since the main thing it's going to be doing is being a wall. And that's really nice because I can't be taunted if I run Oblivious. And the Regenerator, I regain health. So it's obnoxious either way, and that's great. Now, and for its move pool, it gets great offensive, which it's not going to be using much, but it gets great offensive moves in Scald and Surf and Psychic and Psyshock, Ice Beam, Focus Blast, Flamethrower, Fire Blast. It has insane coverage. Shadow Ball, Signal Beam. And that's all special side. And then physical side, Aqua Tail, Avalanche, Earthquake, Ice Punch, Zen Headbutt. That's basically it. And then utility, it gets Slack Off. It gets Light Screen, Magic Coat, Toxic, of course, Thunder Wave. Its move pool is absolutely insane. To have these moves I didn't even know it got until now. So yeah, I really like it as pick that I had to pick up after the draft. Now, its stats are solid. 95 HP, 110 defense, 75 attack, 100 special attack, 80 special defense, and 30 speed, which doesn't really matter because it's not supposed to be outspeeding anything anyways. And now, my next pick ended up being Doobly. Now, Doobly happens to be my mascot. Also liked how well it also did offensively and defensively. Now, most people don't see Doobly as a defensive threat, but if put on the correct team and used well, it can do really, really well defensively. And it's pretty much only going to be using Eevee, which also starts making my team a little bit knockoff weak. Because, first of all, Doobly is weak to knockoff in 2 different ways. It's super effectively, and it loses Eevee, which means it's less bulky. And the other reason is because my Slowbro is also weak to dark, meaning it's also weak to knockoff. So that's becoming an issue. And then its ability, it only gets no guard, so nothing to talk about there. Then its movable is solid. It gets Shadow Claw, Shadow Sneak, Rock Slide, Sacred Sword, Pursuit, Iron Head, Night Slash, Gyro Ball on its physical on the physical side. On the special side, it's not going to be using the special side because look at the special attack. It's base 45. I'm not going to be using that ever. And then for setup, it gets basically a Totemize, which I'm not going to be using because it's way too slow for that, and Swords Dance. So it can pretty much tear through teams that are not built for it, that are not ready for it. Then defensively, basically the only thing it gets are Reflect and Rest and Sleep Talk, which is really nice. I've actually used it 1 week because I had Doublade Season 4. I used it once, once defensively because I only had it, I picked it up as a free agent that season, and it did really well. Now its HP stat is not that great, but its defense is base 150 plus Eevee plus EVs in there makes it absolutely insane. It's gonna bulk hits, and if invested in special defense, it actually can bulk a bunch of hits. Like it took like 70 something% a roll from +3 mana fee at not fully EV'd special defensive Doublade from Scald. It's pretty good. It's pretty nice. And its base 110 attack also allows it to hit without being infested, which allows it to hit harder than in most walls while also being uninvested. Now for my next pick, I decided to pick up my Mega, and the one I chose ended up being Mega Alakazam. And Mega Alakazam punches through a lot. It's somewhat of a wall breaker, but most people say it's more of a sleeper, which I agree. Then it's also tied with Mega Aerodactyl. Now, its abilities, usually for the regular form, I will be using Magic Guard, mainly because I can switch into hazards without losing health or taking status infliction. And for its move pool, it's not going to be using its physical side because it has base 50, and that's terrible. On its special side, it gets Dazzling Gleam, Energy Ball, Focus Blast, Psychic, Psyshock, Shadow Ball. Basically, that's it. And then for utility, it gets Thunder Wave. Almost get Toxic, so, but yeah, it gets that too. Also gets Taunt, Reflect, which I'm never gonna, cause yeah, Light Screen as well. Also gets Grass Knot, which could come in handy at some point. Yeah, that's basically it for its move pool. And stat-wise, it has decent HP, I guess, for the type of mon it is. Can take like 1 hit, basically. And since it outspeeds everything barring Scarf, it can speed creep and give it a little bit more bulk. And then its special attack is through the roof with base 175, which makes it hit like a truck, and with either Psychic or Psyshock, you can hit a lot of mons really, really hard. And then base 95 special defense, base 65 defense. Base 95 special defense is solid, but it's not going to like come in handy. Well, it will, but not like I won't be bringing a specially defensive Mega Alakazam. That'll never happen. And it's base 150 speed, which I already touched on a bit, which is makes it tied for the fastest mon in the metagame. Now for my next mon, I picked up Togetic because I needed a fairy that could hit on take hits on the special defense side. And this basically was the only thing that fit that description, since all the other fairies were taken at this point that could tank hits like that. Which gives me another Eviolite user, which will most likely only be using Eviolite. Its abilities: Hustle, never going to use. Ring Race, maybe. Well, Ring Race probably going to use all the time. And Super Luck, I have no idea. It's just, well, I guess it gives me better luck, which I don't have any, so I guess that helps. And for its moves, it gets Ancient Power, Dazzling Gleam, Air Slash. It doesn't get Air Slash to take the back. It gets Morning Sun and Roost, which is, and Soft Boiled. Huh. Alright then. Also gets Wish. Does it get Heal Bell? I'm not even sure. I think it does. It does, so I do have a Cleric here. It gets Grass Knot and Heat Wave and all the hidden powers. And it can also set up with Nasty Plot. So overall, I think this is a great offensive and defensive mon. Now looking at its stats, base 55 HP, which is not that good for a wall, but coupled with base 85 defense and base 105 special defense and Eviolite, makes it able to tank hits a lot better. Now for my next mon, I picked up a dragon, try to get this Fairy Dragon Steel Core. And this is one of the dragons I like the most. Actually, probably my favorite 6-gen mon. It is Tyrantrum. Now Tyrantrum hits like a truck, and it can also eat a couple hits because it has solid defenses as well. And it can use basically any item out here. It can use Life Orb, Glum, Choice Scarf, Choice Band, Assault Vest. Basically anything I want. And I love that about it. And for its abilities, it gets 2 really good abilities. Both Strong Jaw and Rock Head. Strong Jaw allowing me to boost up hits such as Crunch and the Elemental Fangs and moves like that. And then Rockhead, which allows specifically for Life Orb and Head Smash to not take recoil from, which is insane. Which means I will be hitting base 150, stab, Head Smash, and taking 0 recoil from it. Now for its move pool, it gets the aforementioned Head Smash. It gets Earthquake, Dragon Claw, Crunch, Brick Break, which probably I'm never going to be using because I get Earthquake. Fire Fang. I think it also gets Ice Fang, yeah, and Thunder Fang as well. So, does it? Actually, doesn't get. No, it does get Thunder Fang. Cool. It gets Hone Claws for setup. Outrage, of course. Iron Head. Stone Edge, Superpower, Zen Headbutt. So a lot of coverage, which is great. Also gets Sleep Talk and Rock Polish for more setup. And that's basically it because I'm probably not going to be using the special side. But it gets a decent amount of moves for a special side, so I could. It has a base 82 HP stat, coupled with 119 defense and 59 special defense. 59 is terrible. Base 59, I'm not going to be living it. And base 119 is actually really, really good for an offensive mon, because that means that I can eat up hits and, dish out hits on the same side as well. And because of Head Smash plus Stab, most things are not living, including walls. And then it's base 71 speed, which could be better, but, that'd probably break the game. Also, probably make it higher than a C tier, probably be an S tier. Now for my next mod, I decided to pick up another Weavile user because basically I need walls, and Weavile users, I figured, I don't know, probably be better if I had walls that I could use, like Rocky Helmet and leftovers like my Slowbro can. But anyways, I picked up Gligar. Gligar, well, it's a somewhat speedy wall, and it's only going to be using Weavile, so I can get off this page. It has 3 really good abilities. Hyper Cutter, which allows me to, well, switch into Intimidates, I guess. Sandville for sand teams, which actually it does exist. And Immunity, which allows me to not get poisoned, which is amazing because it's a wall. And because of this, I don't have to worry about being, well, toxic, putting me on a timer, and willing me down more and more as the turns go by. Now, for its move pool, it gets, gets Baton Pass, also gets U-Turn for momentum and pivoting. Also gets Acrobatics, just in case I get knocked off, because my team is really knockoff weak. Then there's also Aqua Tail, Earthquake, Knockoff, Rock Slide, Stealth Rocks, also gets Defog. Is it in here though? Because, yeah, okay, it is here. Defog, Roost, Swords Dance, and Tailwind, which is interesting. Taunt, Toxic, and U-Turns, basically the entire move I'll be using at any point, and Sonnage as well. Also gets Sleep Talk, which is cool. And yeah, that's basically it. And it's move pool. Doesn't get much else that is useful for me. It also gets Quick Attack for priority, but that's probably never going to happen. HP stats base 65. I wish it was higher, but it's whatever. And its defense is base 105, which is amazing. Plus special defense 65, which is not that great, but it has access to the Eviolite, which makes it a lot better. And it has base 85 speed, which is nice because it's a somewhat speedy wall. And base 75 attack and base 35 special attack, which means I'm not going to be hitting that hard, but that's not what it's meant to do. So it's fine. Then my next pick, well, oops, because I lost my Keldeo, which was originally in my plan, my draft plan, and it was sniped by Dane, and then I had a backup, with being Yan Xiao, and that was also sniped by Dane. So I had to improvise, and I picked up a mine with the fighting type that also got a typing that I did not already have on the team. And I decided to pick up Toxicroak. Now Toxicroak was also the only other fighting type that I could have picked up that was of any use. Now on Toxicroak I could probably use Assault Vest, Choice Band, Choice Scarf, Life Orb, and Bomb. Basically that's it. It's not going to be doing that much. Then for its abilities, gun abilities, Anticipation and Dry Skin. Anticipation's good because I could scout out any possible moves that I could not be expecting. And also Dry Skin, which means I have now an immunity to water type, which is great. But also I am now somewhat weak to fire types, which I guess is alright because the rest of my team is not even that. It takes on fire types really well, so I'm not that threatened from it. And it's move full. It gets a bunch of fire type moves. Cross Drop, Drain Punch probably being the biggest two. Also gets Bullet Punch for priority because I believe it does not get Mach Punch. Also gets Knockoff, Ice Punch. It gets the elemental punches because both fighting types do. Rock Slide, Stone Edge. Yeah, elemental punches. Also has a decent special attack. So I could also run some choice specs at some point. And on the special side, it gets Dark Pulse. It gets Nasty Plot for setup. Shadow Ball, Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave. It's basically it. Also gets Sucker Punch on the physical side. And for setup on the physical side, it also gets Bulk Up. And stats, it has base 83 HP stat, which is nice. Because again, eat up hits that are resisted or neutral. Now my next pick is kind of a controversial pick because most people don't understand exactly why I picked this, since at the time I had 80 extra points and I forgot that we were all the way at the end. This was my 11th pick. So I ended up picking Flareon. Now, I really like Flareon. Well, I liked it in my draft plan, mainly because I was looking for a fire type with the ability Flash Fire, so I can get that fire immunity, and that was not Heatran that I could afford. And Flareon fit that role. It has a really high attack stat, so usually I'm probably going to go with the Assault Vest or Choice Band, or I don't know what else. Probably not Life Orb because Flare Blitz and Recoil. I don't want that much recoil. That's kind of insane. Suicidal. Now in its abilities, it gets the aforementioned Flash Fire, as well as Guts. So it's another status absorber. So what is that? 3? Shaman, Gligar, and this. I think that's 3. And it's also, now, Flareon's also a cleric, though it's most likely not ever gonna be a cleric, but it is one, so yeah. It also gets Baton Pass to pivot. Then it gets Facade, Flare Blitz, superpower. It's basically on the physical side. On the special side, it gets a little bit more, but it's not that big. And Heat Wave, all the hidden powers. Ignore Hyper Voice, Shadow Ball. That's it. And then it gets more, really, utility moves. So it gets Wish, Will-O-Wisp, Toxic, Roar, Rest. It might get Morning Sun. I don't think so, though. At this point, Heal Bell. Yeah. And going into its stats, it has a base 65 HP stat, which is alright. And then a base 130 attack stat, 60 defense stat, 95 special attack stat, 110 special defense stat, and 65 speed stat. So it's really slow and can take hits on the special side, which is really nice because it gives me somewhat of a special sponge. Kind of. Not really, though. It's for Togetic, though. But, yeah. So, that is my draft. And leave your thoughts in the comment section below, as well as nicknames for Toxicroak, Gligar, Tyrantrum, Togetic, and that is basically it. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.